Have you been wondering how to do multiple network requests simultaneously in your SwiftUI app? And are you interested in implementing some very complex layouts with multiple sections inside? This is the second part. This is the fourth part in a series where I make an app with the iTunes search API. And what I have so far, you can see on the left, I have here two tabs where I can search either for albums or movies. If I tap here on one of these suggestions, these are buttons, it will use this for the search term. And search, we have here this nice infinite scrolling list. I can do the same search for movies, but what I actually want to have is similar to the iTunes search app. So this is my iPhone, just because I want to have the real thing. On the very top, I have a section where I can toggle between songs, albums, and more. I'm only going to implement the movies extra. If I go back to all, this is the most complex of these layouts. I have here multiple sections. And again, we're only implementing the 3 for songs. So this is the first section. This paging behavior where it stops at the edge is not possible with SwiftUI so easily. So we're just making it continuously scrolling. Okay, if you're at the end of this scroll view, this only has a certain number of elements. If you want to see more, you have to press on the See All button. I need to press the button. And then again, we have this list. This is the same as I would have if I would have selected here songs only. So this is the same style. Then we have another section for albums. Again, the See All button. And music videos I'm not going to do, but here there's a section for movies. And again, pressing on See All gives you this list style. So we have to do this 4 views, 4 screens. The one screen that I have currently here, the one for songs, albums, and movies. Which means that we have to do multiple network requests, because every time I change something, I'm actually searching for a specific thing. For example, now if I go to songs, I have to again fetch something. And also if I now change here my input, it's now going and fetching again. And in this case, I have to start 3 network requests. So we have to do quite a bit more complex data flow, creating these 3 sections here and then these 3 list views. Let's have a look at what I actually did so far and how we can create this kind of lists here with this multiple network requests. Looking at the content view, where the main part of my application is, I have here a tab view with 2 tabs, one for the album, searching for albums, and one for searching movies. Each of these views is using a list with a searchable view modifiers. For example, in the album search view, I have here a view model that fetches my albums. And in order to show this text field, I use a searchable view modifier, which connects the text that I'm entering in this text field to the view model. So in the view model, this is this search term property. I use a small data stream that whenever this search term changes, not too often, when it changes, I am starting to fetch more albums. I'm going to start a new term actually. In order to make this a little bit easier on myself, I defined this service layer. So this is this API service. Part of this file is working with URLs. So I have here this helper function that helps me compose these URLs with the query parameters. For example, setting here different entities, what I want to search, movies, albums, songs. Then I have one generic function that does the fetching, the actual fetching, and also the decoding. I have then 3 functions for fetching albums with a specific search term, fetching songs, and fetching movies. Now, what I want to do is create another tab for searching multiple things, like you saw in the example. And hopefully I'm going to be able to use a lot of the code that I already wrote. Okay, I'm going to add this tab at the first part. So I guess I should first create a file. So my view file, I create a new group for search. And actually, I also need another group for songs because I didn't actually write any views. This needs to be on the top level. Okay, in my search folder, I can create now a new SwiftUI view, which is a search view. So now I can use this in my tab view as the first tab, search view, with a tab item label from title and system image, saying search. And for the image, I'm going in the Xcode library under the symbols tab and search for magnifying glasses. Here, this is the simple magnifying glass. And we have this extra tab. Okay, now I can go to this search view and we can have a look what I actually have to put. I did take some screenshots. So this is in Sketch, I just put everything in one file. This is the tab I wanted to create. So I need the search text field. This is actually a UI search bar controller. It's a new UI kit, but I'm just going to use the searchable view modifier. Then I need to have this picker and the list with all my sections. So I guess I start with this picker, where I have to have the all options, songs, albums, and movies. And this is kind of an enum. I already have something similar defined. Here in my API service, I have an entity type, and I'm going to put this in a different file so we can use this a little bit more efficiency. So in the models, maybe I should have started doing this differently. Swift file. This is entity type. Now, this has this 3 cases. I need to, in order to make this work for my picker, I need to add a little bit more. So first I need an all case. Then I want to have this identifiable so I can use it in a for each, which means it's complaining because I don't have a property with the name ID. So I'm going to create a computed property ID of type string. This is because I'm going to use the raw values. So this is self.raw value. Now this is going to work because in my for each I will use all cases exactly each time once. Because in the picker I will not use them multiple times. Otherwise this identification with the raw value will not work. Because then if you have multiple in the same list, then you have the same ID and it's going to complain. Okay, then in order to have this nicer with the for each, I also add here case iteratable because then I can easily create an array of all cases. And the last thing I want to add, because as you see in this picker, I have here the names, all songs, albums. So this is different string values, and I'm going to add a function here that generates me these names. So this is a function that returns a string. And I'm going to create a switch self. Use the one with the open curly braces because this is auto-completion with all the cases. So in case of all, the picker should say all. In case of the album, I want to return albums. In case of songs, I want to return songs. And in case of movie, I want to return movies. Okay, now I can use this entity type in my search view for the picker. So I'm going to use a B stack because this kind of picker is actually kind of pinned on top, so it shouldn't go in the scrollable part. So this is a picker. Select the data. Select the media. I guess it's more media. Then I need to actually create a property where I can store this selected type. So this is a state property. It states private var selected entity type. And this is a entity type. And I start with all. So this is the default. Now I can use the binding to the selected in order to connect this to the picker and tap on the closure. Now we have to here define all the cases, and I'm going to use a for each for my entity types all cases. This is why I added case iteratable, because it's returning me an entity type array of all cases. And now on this here I get the type. Now I can show a text with the type name, not the raw value. The raw value is not the right format. Okay, and something else is not the correct format. Per default on iOS you have this collapsible picker. If you, for example, tab, you see here I can add this. But I want to have a segmented style, so I have to use a picker style view modifier and use segmented. Okay, this is good. You can also add a horizontal padding dot horizontal. Okay, now we have the picker. What you see here is not actually selecting this properly. That is because it's kind of assuming I'm using the name as the it's trying to use the name to set it on my selected entity type, but it's not supposed to use the name. It's supposed to use the value itself. So because this is of entity type. Anyways, you just need to add, if it doesn't work, you add a tag that is of type of the selected, of the binding here. So this is my type. So what you see in the preview is actually now selecting the all case, and tapping on the selection is going to move it. Okay, next I want to have the search bar. I need to have here a state property for my text. Now the thing is, before in the other cases I actually directly did the binding to the view model. I'm not going to do this now because I need to connect it to 3 different view models for the movies, songs and albums. I'm going to start with a state private var search term. This is a string and it's empty in the beginning. So now I can use this as the binding and no prompt. This is not going to be visible because I need to have a navigation view. It needs to be because it's placed in the navigation bar. In view content. We can also add a yes, now it's there. Okay, I'm going to add a spacer, so we push this picker up. Spacer. And there's a lot of area on top. This is because of my navigation bar title area. We can add a title, navigation title, search, and then maybe we make it smaller. So this is navigation title display mode inline. Okay, just going to open the screenshot I took again. Okay, I have this kind of search fields and the picker. We can also add a divider afterwards, so we can start building our sections. So here I add a divider. And the actual thing is, my content will be very different if I have if I'm in the all case, the album, songs and movies. So in the all case, I will have this kind of search all, this section style. The other ones I'm going to reference different subviews. So maybe I'm going to start by creating a subview, some of the missing ones. So one is for this all cases. Maybe search all list view. So this will have the sections. I'm just going to change the name here. Search all. So this is the first part. Then I will need a list of albums, songs and movies. Right now I already defined some lists for movies and albums. So I have one view for each that is embedded in the navigation view. And the part that I'm interested in is actually just the lists. So here I have the list that shows the movie entries and also these loading states. The one thing I need is this movie list view, because this is where the view model is where I search for something, and the same for the album. So we need to give this view a view model, which means that in our search view I need to create them, and when I create them they have to be state objects. So this is add state object private var album view model. This is a album list view model. Okay, maybe I should have called this album list view model then. Then I have to have a state object private var for the song list. Yes, I created this view model. This is created. I'm here creating a new instance. And then actually the last one, maybe I'm just going to make this a little bit easier for movies. And then I use a movie list view model. You probably already know that the fetch requests are in this view model. We need to connect changes to the search term or the updates to this view model so we get the right updates, which I'm going to do in a minute. I just want to reference all the views we need. So I can now use this album list view and the movie list view. After here, I can use a switch on my type, selected type with the ... so I get the completions. So in case I have all, I need to show the album search view. No, that's not right. I need to show the search all list view, which actually also needs this free view models. Okay, I need to go. Okay, it's going to complain a lot. If I want to pass this down, this has to change to observed objects. Observed. And I do it wrong again. And then I don't initialize this here. I just declare these properties and we have to pass it from the parent. I'm going to uncomment the preview. So otherwise I get this problem. Okay, now I have here my free input arguments. So I have to give the album view model, the song view model, and the movie view model. Then in case of, if I only show albums, I show the album list view with this album view model. I show these, oh no, I don't have a song. I don't have any views for songs, so I need to create one. SwiftUI view. This is a song list view model. This has to be very similar to, here, for example, my album list view. Just going to copy this and we adjust to use songs. So in here, I paste this. So in this case, for my songs, I use the song list view model, which means that I'm iterating off the view model's songs. So for each of the songs, I am showing the song's track name. I think I made too many changes at once. This is the view model. I need to, in the initializer, in the preview. I named this song list view model. Why did I do that? This is a song list view. Because I already have one, so I need to rename everything here. Sorry. So the preview has to be also a song list, and this has to be song list view with the view model of a new song list view model. Now I have less errors, but still. And the first one is here that song is not identifiable. I didn't really work on that model much. So now I'm going to change this to identifiable. I'm conforming to identifiable, which means I need a property with ID. And the song is the unique ID for the song is the track ID. And I actually want to rename this from track ID to just ID. I am going to change the track ID. Okay, the track ID is changed and now I have an ID, which makes this easily identifiable. Going back to my song list view, now should fix the for each problem. Yes, but I still have a problem with load more, and I think it's because my view model is not properly done. So the album view model I already did, and I open the song list view model so I can compare. So I need to have a load more function. Okay, so function load more, which is basically calling this fetch songs again with the search term that I have stored in my page, in my view model. then I need to have this automatic updating when the search text changes, search term changes. So this is basically this init, or this part in the init. So import combine subscription and init. So what I do is when a search term changes, I am doing some filtering and then I'm starting a new fetch. And the two things that I do here first is actually kind of a clear. So this is actually I clear my songs, because when I have a new term, then the old songs don't match anymore. And afterwards I'm starting a new fetch. The other thing I have to actually clear here that I seem to have forgotten is setting the page to 0 again. In order not to confuse this for myself later, I'm going to call this extract an extra function which is clear. And I'm going to do these three things in this function, so that in the sync I just can call self.clear. And then I don't need to have the self references here anymore. So now this is taking over everything from the other file. And maybe I'm doing the same. I create this clear function in the album. So then I have to reset the albums. And here in the sync I call clear. So they're nicely, they're very similar to each other. I'm not going to make this more reusable. I know it's pretty much the same. But it's not necessary to go more into you don't need to overdo making things reusable. Okay, now I have these view models. I have 3 view models that I can use. I can go in my song list view. This seems to be okay. Now I go to my search view, because here I clearly didn't finish. Okay, in case I only selected to show songs, I'm showing my song list view and giving here the song list view model. And then in the case only showing movies, I show the movie list view with the movie list view model. Okay. How many more problems did I generate? Okay. Things are building. So now if I here search for something, okay, that's not going to do anything. But I can switch to different tabs. Okay. It's not perfect yet. I didn't say that. Because actually I do want to have, in case I didn't search for anything yet, I want to have something like this placeholder, like I have in the case of the albums. So I just want to have this part with the placeholder. What did I do in the album search view? This is this placeholder view. I'm going to rename this because I'm using it somewhere else. And maybe I should move this somewhere else in a separate file. Search placeholder view. And I am going to move this in a separate file that I'm going to place in my search tab. So this is SwiftUI view, search placeholder view, and then I'm simply cutting this out and pasting it here in my search placeholder file. So now, which one was it? Yes, in case I'm in the search view, if my search terms count is 0, I'm showing the search placeholder view, giving the binding to my search term, and else, if I have something to search, I show one of my tabs. Okay, and in my search placeholder in the preview, I need to give here some binding, and I just use a constant of John. So going back to my search view. And then I'm just going to add a frame with to expand the height That's why I use a maximum height of infinity, and the alignment is then center. Okay, tapping on one of my suggestions is then going to all, and I can go to the other tabs. Now, the most important part, how do I actually connect all my search term here? This search term I need to connect to this view models to start fetching. And the thing that I can use is a onChanged modifier. You can make any view, for example, this navigation view, can be used with onChange of a property, and in this case it's a search term. And we can say my album list view model, I can change its search term to the new value. Just go there, and because the value I set this up, when this property changes, I trigger this data stream and I'm updating my fetch request. I can do the same with the other two view models. So this is song list view model dot search term is new value, and movie list view models search term is this new value. Okay, now try again. And I go in the albums tab. Okay, I seem to have a problem with my songs, obviously. So there's something went wrong, is something with my decoding. But anyways, if I go in the movies, I do see here movies, for example, the Harry Potter movies. If I go to albums, I see some greatest hits. The all case, we didn't do anything, but let's just display here 3 text views that each give the amount of songs they have, so we actually see something. So this is a VStack, one text for movies, and I just display the movie list views movies count. The same for the other two. This is albums, album list view models, albums count, and then another text for songs of song list view model songs dot count. Okay, let's try. Okay, in the search tab, I have these albums, songs, and movies. So for example, if I find the movies tab and I tap on Rammstein, I did not seem to have fetched anything. I guess there's no movie with this name. So let's just change it to R. And that seems not to be the right data. I do have some albums. And yes, this is the wrong format. Okay, I just want to fix one problem at a time. Maybe we start with the song formatting. So when I have a failure, I actually want to print the error. So I'm going to say could not load and then print here the error, which should give me the debug error. So go to songs and Rammstein. And I have some decoding error, so release date is not the correct type. And I'm going to change this to string. There's also other problems because the collection price and the track price are optional, so I make this an optional double. Okay, I go in the song tab. Pressing on Rammstein is now fetching them. It's also fetching more. Okay, I'm in iOS 16. It has a problem with showing my indicator. Should go to iOS 15 back. The way I am just going back to my search view. The way I'm doing this, every time my search term here changes, I'm actually starting a new fetch, and I fetch all of them, which means that even if I'm in the song tab and I change this text here, it's going to fetch also albums and movies. So it did, I added some print statements. Maybe I should have added print statements that tell me what I fetched. So in my album view model, when I say here fetched and the number of results, I say fetched albums and the number of the results. And then in the song list view, I say fetched songs. And in the movie, I say fetched movies. So I can see properly. And actually, while we are there, so I do have a decoding error, another one, for movies because the long description is also not available. So the long one also has to be optional. Okay, I go in the song tab. That was the thing. I want to demonstrate that when I add here, when I press on Rammstein, I'm starting a search for Rammstein. And as you see, it did fetch albums, songs, and movies all, because I did set this up here to start to fetch for all of them every time this changes. What we can do is use the switch case on my selected type. So in case, okay, I need to make this smaller again. Yes, I know you're complaining. In case I'm in the all section, I need to fetch everything. In case I'm in the all albums, I'm only fetching albums. The song section, I'm only fetching songs, and the movie only movies. So here in this section, maybe I just clear everything. Okay, in case I press a tab now on Rammstein, I'm in the all section, and you see from this list I don't have any movies. Okay, I also get print statements. If I now go in the album section, I see the albums that I just fetched because it's propagating the same, it uses the same view model with the same data. But if I now remove this, it is, oh, I have too many. It actually only fetched albums this time here, which is good. I don't fetch more than I have to. Now, if I go to songs, you see here there's still Rammstein. So when I change the tabs, now I have to update this. So when this view appears, we need to check if we should update. And the view that appeared in this case is one of these. Okay, now I have to. So for example, when the album appears, I can use an onAppear and say the album view models search term should be this search term. Now, if it already had this search term, I don't want to do the fetch again. So let's just check what I did with this data stream. Going in the album list view model. Here I said when the search term changes, then I start this request. I did some timing. I dropped the first one and I did some debounds. I can also add a remove duplicates. So now this is the same string. If the same string is passed here twice, I'm not searching this again. I'm not starting a fetch again, which is very good. So since I like this, I'm also going to add this to my song list view. It's always good to remove things. Okay. Now this should have solved my problem that when I switch to the albums list view, I'm definitely going to update this. Then, and when I switch to the albums tab, I am going to update my search term to the newest one. When I'm in the list view, the album list view, and I change the search term, this onAppear is not triggered again, but the update comes then from the onChange. So now I can do the same here for the other ones. So in case my song list appears, my song list view model search term needs to be this one, and for the movie, it's the movie list view. And in case I have all, I should update all. So then would be this. Okay, this is probably a little bit, so this would be the search term. It's quite a bit more complicated now. Let's try this first. I am in the first tab, I search for Rammstein. I see that I get free requests. I get results for free requests. I go to the albums tab, I see the same searches, and I didn't actually create a new search. I change my input. This changes the result, but I only fetch this for albums because I'm in the album tab. If I go now to the songs tab, you see here it fetched 20 new songs, and actually this is not Rammstein result anymore. Same if I go in the movie tab. I don't know why I have so many focus item problems. In the movie tab, I fetched 44 movies. This is because I didn't put any limits there. Okay, this is nice. Now I have all the data that I wanted with the correct update. And I managed to do this with a combination of onAppear and onChange. If you don't want to do all these complicated things, but you're okay with not doing so much, you can also do this by just updating everything all the time. We could also add these kind of onAppear and onChange inside of the subviews, but then the view models would live in a lower level and I would not be able to share them so nicely like I do now between these different tabs. As you can see, in order to pass data between different view models, or between different parts, you can use this onChange very nicely. Or if you only want to pass it doing onAppear, you can use the onAppear view modifiers. There's another one if you have a publisher like a onReceive. This takes in a publisher. For example, I can subscribe to one of my view models, like the album view models. This one search term. I could also, no wait, then this is wrong. The publisher is this, otherwise it's the binding. So now I have here, I get all the updates to this property, the search term, and you could update one of the other view models. Then we could have also done, but then I guess it's a little bit more complicated because then, I mean, at least in this case, because it's not supposed to be, the data flow in this case is from this one search text field, downwards to one of these child views. Actually, the data flow is from the search text field to the view models, and the view models then to the views. So it's a very top-down approach, which is always good because you want to have a clear idea of, okay, if this property changes, the way that SwiftUI is going to update. If this property changes, I'm using the onChange to change the other properties, the other view models, which causes the views to be updated. And then the newest data is used for my fetch for updating the views, but only the ones where I changed or the ones that I have some data. Okay, I don't use this kind of onReceive. Okay, I'm done with this view, and what is now left is the fun part, which is creating the subviews, which is customizing my views, for example here the cells, or creating the sections. So we have to start working on the loading images and showing this kind of different layout, which we are going to do in the next part of the series. You can find the link in the description box or somewhere. Leave a like and subscribe. Until next time, happy coding.